All right, let's look at some games that I won against masters recently. I am at my peak rating right now, which is 2063, and before that my peak was 2060, and then I dropped like close to 2000 twice. Then I went back up exactly to 2060, and finally I like gained like 40 rating points and got to 2063. But okay, Brian Wall. Brian Wall said he tried to watch the VOD of our game, but there was no sound, so I'm doing it again so Brian Wall can hear my thoughts on the game. Also for YouTube. Yeah, I also I've put zero work into tactics or calculation or pretty much anything. Like I sometimes look at openings, but I haven't really done anything to get better except for work on psychological aspects. So why would I expect to be better? That makes sense. Okay. Brian Wall is doing the 40 move challenge again, where he plays every move, every possible first move, and he has to win them, or he has to do it again. And he decided to play d5 against me, and because he said he felt like it would be cheating to play d5 against d4. For some reason, I guess that's cheating because it's a good move. But this was at... Oh wait, no. This game was played first, okay. And he played the same thing. So he played e4 and he played d5. So I take. This was at a tournament, an expert master tournament. So it was... I played 3 masters and I got 2 out of 3 in that tournament. Time control was kind of short and it was weird. I think it was game 60 with a 10-second increment. Something weird like that. But okay. He plays this weird line that I don't know very well. I'm just recalling stuff that I saw in the Keep It Simple book by Chess Explained, like 3 or 4 years ago that I looked at. I don't know any theory. I just kind of know that... I kind of had a feeling this is what you do here. And the point of bishop b5 is that after bishop d7, you go back to e2. Oh, the bishop's on d7, and it doesn't necessarily want to be there. That's kind of the whole point. It's not the best way to play, but it's, you know, it's simple. That's the point. So, okay, I play c4, a6, and, yeah, he decides to try and... So this is gonna lead to, like, a wacky position here. He's completely destroying my pawn structure, but he's gonna be behind in development, and it's just gonna lead to a weird, awkward position that's not... Natural moves will not help. So I take, he takes, I develop a piece, knight b6, bishop b3. I'm just kind of looking at the f7 pawn just in case. Yes, behind in development. I'm apparently dyslexic when I speak too. Okay, and so the reason taking this would be bad is because of bishop a6, and then my king cannot castle, probably. Or maybe it's fine, but I play knight e2. I'm not sure. I'm gonna sneeze. I'm not. Yeah, and then I thought for a long time here, and I thought to myself, look at his king. It's in the center, it's suffocated, he has no development, and I have an open lane to his king. So I could do one of two things. I could try and take advantage of that, or I could just play d4 and claim that, yeah, I have an isolated pawn, but I have piece activity, just kind of play it calmly. And I was like, oh, queen f3 looks interesting, because, okay, the only ways to defend this are e6 and knight e5, and I thought after knight e5, queen e4, knight d3, king e2, if he has to do this, I thought I was doing great here, so that's why I played it. But then I realized after I played queen f3 that knight e5 is probably actually very good, because in this position, he actually has b4, and the point is that I can't take because of bishop a6, which was the point earlier, and I should have known this. And I don't really have a good move here, and I'm probably just worse. So I got scared. I thought he was for sure gonna play knight e5, but he saw the same line I did, and also stopped looking after knight c1. And so he played e6, and now I'm doing okay. So I decided to play d4, which I thought made sense because I'm preventing knight e5, but he has a move here that's, you know, kind of takes advantage of it that I didn't consider white to play, I guess. Yeah, c5. Okay, like in my head, I didn't really ever consider c5 because he's fixing my isolated pawn, but he's also getting a heck of a lot of shit, and I get nothing. Like I have to move my bishop, and now he goes here, and this is not a good position. This is bad. I shouldn't have to explain why. This is not something that's good. But it never even crossed my mind that he would challenge my pawn. But maybe I was thinking about this or something. I don't know. But yeah. But then he's Brian Wall, so he had a senior moment, and he played this move. So this move is every move is a mistake. You know how it is. Hello, Pavlikic. I forgot a lot about this game too. I'm having to really try and remember what was happening in my head. So where would you put the knight here? You have two options. You have knight b5 and you have knight e4. I feel like one makes sense and one doesn't. I didn't really consider knight b5 because just intuitively it doesn't make much sense, I thought. Because, okay, it looks like my knight's getting trapped if I don't play queen c6. And I just looked at this position, or not that. I don't know, like, I just looked at this position and thought, like, what did I really get out of this? My knight doesn't have squares and my queen has to babysit it. Why is this good for me? But it is, apparently. This is what I should do. I guess the point is I'm just piling up on the c-pawn. But just looking at it, it just seems logical to put the knight in the center. Like, why wouldn't you do that? And the reason you don't do that here is, all his moves these moves are not easy to see. They're not natural. They're really computer-looking moves. But he should play bishop b7 here and just give me the bishop, which is very strange, I thought. And the point is he takes with the g-pawn, and it's, again, c5, and I really shouldn't take that. It's not as bad as the first time because he doesn't have this light-scored bishop, but he has everything that he could possibly want. Again, like, I play knight e2 here, which is weird, because it's like, you're allowing this is what I should do, but that's how bad the position is, apparently. So yeah, c5 every move, basically. I wasn't sure if I was gonna play this, if he played bishop b7. Honestly, I didn't have a concrete follow-up planned. I was just kind of playing chess, as you do. But I guess he dismissed it for the same reason as just if you say the words in your head, it doesn't make sense. But if you actually calculate it and look at the position afterwards, yeah, black is better. But he played bishop b7, develops a little piece there. I develop a little piece as well. And the reason knight e2 is bad is, again, he should just play this move. I should play queen g3, get out of this pin with a tempo, and it's equal here. It's unbalanced, but it's equal. I played knight e2 because I still wasn't really thinking bishop b7 was that great. Neither was he. So now he castles. Again, queen g3 is what I should do. But I castle. Again, he should play bishop b7 every single move. But he plays knight f6. And if he doesn't have bishop b7, it is really hard for him to find a move here. Because if he moves either one of these pieces, then I probably put my knight on c5, and then I can reroute this knight to either e5 or attack this pawn via bishop d2. And he's just sort of cramped if he doesn't play bishop b7. If my knight comes to c5 and my queen is controlling this diagonal, it's going to be really hard to develop this piece. f5 what? Bishop takes e6 on f5? What are you talking about? When was f5 ever played? What are we talking? I don't know what we're talking about right now. That's what we're saying. That's what I just explained. Bishop b7 is good. But he was not playing it probably because of this. Chat is on crack. Chat suggested f5! Oh! f5! Wow, that's something. Anyway. He played knight f6, and I put my knight on c5, and now my position is very good. I thought I was just better here, because, yeah, what's the plan? He kind of walked into this pin, but no need to be a jerk. Yeah, I already looked at this game, that's why it's also funny. But well, f5 also just like, even if e6 isn't hanging, you really shouldn't ever want to push your f-pawn when there's a bishop on this diagonal. Like, that just, like, you just have no sense of danger. I think, if that's something that would... I mean, sometimes it might be good, so... I don't know. I don't know, man. Okay, but now in this position, I'm doing great. Again, I have these plans of knight f4, knight d3, knight e5, or I could keep it on d3 and just reinforce the horse, play bishop d2, and put pressure on this b-pawn. And if I win the b-pawn, then that's like an easy plan to win. So, play knight f4, play c6, knight d3, bishop a6. And this was, I wouldn't say a critical point in the game, but it is like, it felt like it was. Just because I was having a lot of trouble deciding whether to take this bishop or to let him give me his bishop. And I thought for a long time here, because what it came down to for me and my decision was a matter of tempo, saving tempo. So, what would you do? Would you take, or would you play something else? Well, that would be one plan. Yeah, I just really didn't know. I was just looking at the positions and I was like, okay, he'd take. And then I play knight e5 maybe, something like that. I was like, I don't know, like I don't see what the point of just letting him kind of move a piece forward and giving up this good knight. Like I didn't want to have to take time to give him my best piece. So I played rook d1 because he had a few threats in mind. But apparently, this is the best move, but only if here you see another good follow-up move. So here, how do we, secure, not an advantage, but a better position? It's not that that's kind of the point. It's not that the knight on c5... Oh, wait. Oh, okay. No, okay. I read what you said backwards. The knight on c5 is a better piece than the bishop on a6, just because it's in what we call an outpost. I don't know exactly how that's usually defined, but it can't be kicked by pawns, and it's being supported by a pawn. It's kind of dominating the bishop and all the light squares. It's blockading this pawn and making this pawn weaker, and it's just very annoying for him to have to deal with. Does that make sense? And this bishop doesn't have any prospects, so that is why this knight is better than this bishop. Also, a little rule that you can think about when you're trying to evaluate which of your pieces are better or worse. Usually your good bishop or your bad bishop is the one with, if you have a pawn chain or something, the color all your pawns are on, that's your worst bishop. That makes sense? So if you only have one bishop in an endgame, or in a game in general, if you have a dark squared bishop, you kind of want your pawns to be on light squares, because otherwise your bishop turns into a pawn. So there you go. But okay, in this position, oddly enough, bishop e3 is the best move here, which is like, I like bishops. Why would I give him a bishop? Oops, why do I keep doing that? But I mean, let's really think about this here. What does this move do? Alright, we're vacating the square for a rook, and if this knight ever takes on e3, we take with the pawn. And yeah, like, we got rid of his best piece, but can't he just put it back? But no, I mean, you have e4, and you kick the knight away, and you have this big center. And this is apparently good for white. I don't know, like, let me make sure I'm not bullshitting here and turn on the computer for a second. Okay, no, you don't push the pawn. It did look like a bad position. So what is the point? I guess you just supported your pawn. It's not weak anymore. You have a square for your rook. Your bishop was probably your worst piece. And he's never gonna get play on the h-file because of this annoying bishop. The knight looks pretty here, but it's not doing all that much. You could play rook a to c1. Trying to find what our plan is. This move's weird to me. I don't know. The move just looks weird. What's wrong with this? What is our plan? I guess my knight might be happier on this square and try and attack the c-pawn. I'll also play king. I'll just go down the computer line, see if we can make sense of this. Knight e5. What? Oh. Okay, so we just don't worry about this. We're just attacking the f-pawn and the c-pawn. That's weird. And that's why king h1, so this isn't check. It's also important that this is attacking this, and we're also threatening this. Sort of. Why not taking knight with bishop? Because, okay, so the reason we're never gonna probably ever do that in this position is because this is a fantastic piece. Sure, I mean, it's just kind of sitting there, but if it's ever gone, he's gonna have a ton of counterplay attacking my h-pawn. Plus, it would fix his pawn structure. yeah, it's a good piece, but it's not worth that many concessions. And my position would probably fall apart very quickly because there's just no way to defend the a pawn. Did I say h? I meant the a pawn. So this is a very, very good piece, and I don't ever want to trade it unless I have a concrete reason why I should. Plus, it's also kind of keeping the knight here, and there could be, just weird tactics along this diagonal on the king. No, it makes sense. King h1 makes sense to me now. It's just we don't want this to be checked. We're going to play knight e5, and another point is, like, how does he defend this? If he has to play f6, it makes this bishop even better, and this piece is, I mean, it's there. It's not, it's a pawn. But yeah, okay, that's the point. We play bishop e3. And I didn't see any of that shit, and I don't know that I would have even evaluated it correctly, even if I did see it. So I was just logically, I thought it made sense that if I have to give up one of my knights for this stupid bishop, I want him to take time to do it, and I want to take time to put my piece on a square where it's happy anyway. That was my thinking. So he takes, I take with the knight because I think it makes sense to put the knight on e5, because it's, I don't want him to take it ever. I want to keep my knight. It's quite a good piece. So, but now he plays queen b6 and play knight e5, kind of automatic move there. Rook a to d8 and play bishop g5. I'm just sort of developing pieces. There might be a point in time where there's tactics about this pin or something. But so then he plays c5. A little too late. So I have 2 moves that are close to winning. I don't know why he played c5 if he saw one of them, because he thought that the longer it thinks, the more it likes my move over the other. So what would you play here? White to play and win. What does c5 do, and what does it undo, if you will? Why is the rook on d1? Yeah, also I was just walking out of a pin, that was a point. It undefends the knight. It does. It does do that. Can you take advantage of that? Okay. C takes b is a candidate move. Start with bishop f6. No, we don't want to do that, because then we're just... This is a very good piece. And it's sort of pinning something and tying this piece to this one, in a way. These pieces are all loosely tied together. So they look like the moves are about the same. Alright, so first we should examine why did he play c5? What is the point of c5? Does he want me to take it? That's okay, thanks Bishop Stars. You know how it is. I got a chess brawl raid earlier, so it's fine. Okay, so Brian was saying that he thought this move was just winning, and it is, but my move is even better. So I take, and it gets a little messy here. So the point is, okay, if he takes with the knight, then I take, and okay, he can't take this way because of this. And if he takes with the queen, I have this tactic. I'll play it on the board. This, and if he takes with the knight, this is also bad. So he has to like not take with the knight. Taking with the pawn is better. And I look at this position. It's like, I don't know. He's just like defending along this way now. I feel like this is like, if anything, it's doing him a favor. But here I take, and knight g4. I thought bishop e7 here, and I didn't really get the point. But the point is just that I'm sort of just messing up his pawn structure, and this will be kind of easy to win. He has 3... All of his pawns are isolated. One of them's, doubled as well. My pawn structure is perfect, pretty much. But, then I started looking at taking, and I was like, why did he play this? And his point is that here, he thinks he's threatening to take on f2. The question is he? Is bishop f2 a threat? No. Bishop f2, queen f2, queen f2, king f2, knight e4, forking the bishop and the king. What's happening there? Because you worded it like that. Oh, okay. I could play bishop d4 again. It's kind of the same thing, but I like my move better. Well, yeah. I mean, this would just lead into the same thing. I play knight g4. It would just be this. It would be pretty much a direct transposition to that other line. If I wanted to do that, I would have done it the move before. But I decided that it was not a threat, and here is why. I played rook a to c1. All right, which looks like it's just allowing this, right? Which is what he did. But when I was calculating, I saw this position, and yeah, if I go to e2, then like that's not a good thing because he's gonna have checks and stuff. It's gonna be annoying. But I went king to e1, and I think pretty much either one of these squares would have been better. My thinking about putting the king on e1 instead of f1 or g1 was that I just thought it made sense to be closer to these pawns just in case things get traded off, and I wanted my king in the center. But the king is kind of going to be subjected to some unnecessary fuckery on e1. So I didn't really see that. But yeah, I play king e1, he takes, and now what? My point was I have this move. Yeah, knight c6 is very, very strong. So I'm attacking this, sort of, and he can't defend it in this way. I have all sorts of little threats. It's really hard for him to find a square for his rook. He can't go here. Well, I take and then go here, but you know what I mean. It just looks terrible. So he opts for rook d to e8, so that if I decide to take this, I'm not winning a pawn quite yet because it's with check. But I have this very strong rook d4 move here, and this is how far I calculated from here. That's the position I saw, and woo, that was way too far. I correctly evaluated this position. I'm very happy. The point is the knight is trapped. I'm threatening h4 right now. I'm threatening to win this pawn. I'm gonna have two passed pawns, a bishop, active rooks, and a monster knight. What does he have? He has a master certificate. That's about it. So, yeah, I thought he was gonna play h6 or something here, but he shocked me a little with f5. I guess it makes sense, because maybe at some point he can get some counterplay going if his pawns are advanced. But, yeah, I just decided to take this pawn, because it's a pawn, and I have two connected passers, and a very, very strong... He made my bishop better. But his point was that he has knight e3. My point is that this is not actually a threat, because if he takes there, I play king e2, and now this knight is also trapped. And I'm threatening rook g1, and it's horrendous. So I decided to ignore it, but I wasn't sure how. I didn't see quite far ahead enough. So I also thought that king e2, or some move happens, knight g2, king f2, and then the knight can't move. But I missed this little idea of playing knight f4, hanging a piece, rook takes f4, knight h3. And, I didn't miss it, I just didn't really... I thought this was fine, because, I'm gonna blockade his pawns, and I have two pieces for a rook, and two passed pawns, that's gotta be good for me. But, so I played rook c7, and this is very weird. Yes, this is a bad move here. That's true. But after rook c7, he actually has time to play king h8. Now, what's the point of king h8? The point of king h8 is now he's threatening to take on g2, and if king f2, now this is working. Knight f4 takes, knight h3, king f3, knight f4, king f4. But in this position, he has e5 because the pawn's not pinned, and I have to go back. Now he has, these pawns are moving fast. He's starting to get kind of a lot of compensation here. My pawns are still in the second rank, and my king is getting kicked around. So that's like not what I want. That's just allowing him counterplay. But I didn't see king h8. He didn't play king h8, but he could have. And the point is, it's just strange to me that this is so bad, because if I play king f2 in this position, and I could have done this earlier is what it wanted, now f4 is good, or knight g4 check is also good. And then, what the fuck is going on here? His pawns are, just mobilized now. So, king h8 is a very deep move that it just did not cross my mind when looking at all this shit. But it's just strange to me that it's that bad. I'm not losing by any means. It's still equal, but it's just so unnecessary to allow that. But okay, I play rook c7, and, Brian Wall plays rook f7. I decided to trade the pieces. Maybe this is not accurate. It's kind of, again, not difficult, but just sort of like a computer-esque looking move that I have to play here to be much better. So rook c6 here is what I should play. And now king h8 does no good because now he has another piece here that's pinned. So it's like he has a whole lot of shit he has to deal with, and I just like move backwards, which is hard to see. And yeah, e5 is never working now. So there you go. That's chess. I just traded king f7, and now I play knight c6. I thought I was doing just fine here. I did sort of spoil my advantage by trading rooks. It's sort of equal now. But because I thought I was winning, I still played like I was winning. I didn't play like I messed up because I didn't know I did, and that helped me. So, okay, he plays king f6. He's trying to prevent this. He's trying to mobilize his pawns by stepping out of the pin, but here it does not work as well. And here is where I missed that idea I was talking about earlier. So here he does have this. This is where I allowed it. Now he's this, and black is actually close to winning now. Because without a rook, it's hard to get these pawns going. It's hard to coordinate these pieces, and it's just his pawns are just gonna go. And there's not much that I have to say about it. But I just completely missed that little idea. I don't have to play king f2 and just be losing. I could just push a pawn and, you know, just try. I probably should still draw that. But yeah, I didn't see that idea. King f2 is what I should play, but, you know, didn't see that idea. So king e2, and he didn't see it either. He played knight g4. And again, I'm better, but I did make the best decision here. So what would you play here? This is like a theme in my games where I just like every time it's an endgame, it's the same fucking thing. Just the pawns. I don't understand how pawns work at all. So I had a feeling that I probably could just let him take this because, you know, if he's just not doing anything. He's just wasting time. I had a feeling I could probably play a4, and just let him take here. But I don't know. We were both running low on time. And I thought it would just be safer to just defend the pawn. Now it's equal again. But yeah, like if I just play a4, I'm probably gonna win this. I mean, I still did win this somehow, but yeah, he just doesn't have time to do this. He has to play this move anyway. I just wasted a move with h3 because he's not gonna take that. The pawn just goes. So that was again, if I work on that, I think intuitively or automatically, I'll be able to make these fast decisions about when to push pawns and when not to. I just don't understand pawn structures at all, I think. But okay, I played h3 because I am a weak chess player. I played knight e5. I take, and like, how would you evaluate this? Because I thought white was just better. I wasn't sure if I was winning, but I thought if anyone's gonna win, it's gonna be me. I think the reason I have so much trouble with pawns is because it's just such a commitment. And what happens a lot of the time is I'm afraid of making a commitment, and when I should and I don't. Or I just make like a really committal move that weakens everything. But that just pushes me to never push pawns ever. Because I just like get in my head about it. Alright, it's probably +1. Black has one pawn island. Well, yeah, but he only has one passed pawn. I have two, and I have a bishop. My rook is more active than his. His king's cut off. His knight sucks. Like, what more could I want? So, the evaluation here is 0.0. But because I thought I was better, I kept playing in creative ways to try and win, and I won, and it was like a surprise to me that I was not winning. But like that false confidence is actually really helpful sometimes. So it's just dead equal. But how does black find a move? Because I'm like b6 and like h4 is a threat sometimes, and I take pawns, and he can't ever win one of my pawns because he can't get on this file and attack it that way, and he can't kick my king out of the e2 square and do it this way. He can't ever attack the a pawn because of the bishop. Like, how am I not winning? I don't know. Like, I'm still convinced that if we're just talking practically, that white's winning, like in a practical game. I mean, I'm not winning, but God. When did I first beat Brian? Well, I don't know. We'll take a look at that. We can look at my stats against Brian after this. So he plays g6, and if I play h4 right now, he gets the knight out, and that's really annoying, and that's kind of how he'll not lose, I thought. So I came up with this little idea of playing bishop c2. So, okay, the knight still can't move currently. He does, I'll take a pawn. But, you know, then it's looking a little more drawish, because if I want to defend this pawn this way, he's going to come in here and he's going to give the checks, he's going to bring his king in, and it'll probably be a perpetual. So that's why it's a draw. If I don't want to allow his knight to be active, then I have to allow checks, therefore draw. So, makes sense now, but he plays rook c8, sort of preparing for this shit. I play bishop d3. Still, I'd like to play h4, if he'll let me. And he plays h5, which I thought was a bad move, but it's totally fine. It's not a bad move at all. There's nothing wrong with it. Again, I just, like, don't understand pawns. So, I decided to play h4 and take this knight. It's still completely equal here. And, you know, he just has infinite checks if he wants to. I think we both had under 5 minutes, and that's why I played rook b1, just allowing a perpetual. But he threw in this very strange f4 move. Still equal, but I thought f4 was maybe even the reason he lost, it felt like. Like, he's making all these pawn moves that don't make much sense to me. They do make sense if you're just thinking about it in terms of he needs counterplay. You know, he can't just sit there. Sure. But, okay, I play rook b4 and king f3, and the only way to defend this pawn is by playing e5. But now I have this very good g3 move, and, you know, he doesn't have a check because of my b pawn, and he doesn't have this because I can just take it. So, there's a huge threat on the board, so he takes on g3, and I take. He plays rook d8 so that he will have a check. But now I push my pawn forward. Rook d3, king f2. Okay, so here's the point. The point is that currently the rook can't get behind the pawn. If he wants to get behind the pawn, he has to go do it via rook d1, a1. Okay, this makes sense now. That's probably what he should do. But, he played e4, and I guess it's just to be able to move the king forward and not, you know, just block the rook possibly, I don't know. But now I play a5, and he played kind of a bad move. If my king were on e2 right now, then he wouldn't really be able to go this way, right? But he needs to get behind the pawn. He only has one move that doesn't lose. So, and it's not that easy. So I will let the chat think for a while. It's black to play and draw. Now, keep in mind, Brian has no time here. It's not that long of a time control, and we are playing on our increment, basically. g5, rook d5. Anything but the best move is at least -5. Rook d1. Well, if you remember the move, don't spoil it for the rest of the chat. I'll look at rook d1 first, because I think it's, it makes sense at least. So, rook d1, what would white play? White to play and win here. I have 2 ways to win this. What the fuck are pawns anyway? They are short. They aren't pieces, but sometimes they are pieces and become pieces. They move on squares except for when they don't. Or one square. They capture diagonally except for when they don't. Fuck pawns. My point exactly. Rook f3 is not a legal move. Try again. Rook b3, yes. Double X slam on the rook b3. So now if black plays rook a1, I have rook a3. I'm behind the pawn now, bitch. And now if you try and reroute your pawn, then I have a whole nother pawn helping out. And this I'm gonna blockade this and you're done. So these pawns just push themselves. I don't need to do anything. Also, b3 would have been accepted. Same idea. It's the same exact idea. Why does rook a4 lose? I don't know what you're talking about. Rook a4 here? It doesn't lose, it just doesn't win. Because now he has rook d2, which is a kind of a theme for the rest of the game, and he takes his pawn, and if he gets this way, my king can't ever come in and help because then this pawn goes. So I have to keep both of these pawns if I want to win. So it's like in an endgame, if you want to win, you need 2 weaknesses to take advantage of. If your opponent only has 1 weakness, it might be kind of hard to win. But generally, if you can create 2 weaknesses, then you'll win. Just as like a little rule, but it doesn't always apply. It's just anyway. So that is why rook d1 is a hideous blunder. So what is the best move? And it does involve that thing we just looked at. The little cute little idea. My copy pasta sounds so much better when read in Sarah's southern drawl. Rook f3 is not a legal move. What are you talking about? Oh, for black. Oh my god. I thought you were saying earlier. Okay, what does rook f3 do, though? Okay, rook f3 check. I move my king, now what? Sorry I was so mean to you. I thought you were saying rook to f3. Still, okay, rook f3, I just go there. And then what? You just cut your rook off from all hope. So not rook f3. Rook f3 loses. Rook d5, automatic. Alright, what's the point of rook d5, though? Like, am I not just doing this? Alright, so the point is that, yeah, so here you have this little cute little idea here again. And now it's a draw for the same reasons I said earlier. You can put your rook here, and I can't do anything. I mean, I can't bring my king over, because then I could possibly lose, even. Okay, but what if I push and go here? Are my pawns not going to start rolling this way? So, yeah, so the point is that, I mean, you could put your rook anywhere, basically. You could play rook a2 if you want. I think it's a little bit better to just play rook a1, because if I ever do play b4, you just have infinite checks. And if I ever go this way, you know, I gotta be careful. Like, I mean, this is equal, but I feel like I could make a mistake here and maybe even lose. So now my king is so far away. I have to do this or something now, but yeah, so that's the point. The point is that I can't actually move my b pawn. That's not a real threat. And otherwise, I don't know, you could just go take this pawn or something like that. Or go here, or something. So that is how you draw. But Brian was running low on time, and I think he panicked because he started grunting, as he does. He started making Brian noises, and he looked at his clock, and it was like ticking down. He had like 15 seconds or something, and he just went here. He just checked me, which is kind of the same reason rook f3 is bad, because okay, I go here, and now there are no checks. So when this happens, I go here, and there's no rook d2 check. It's very unlucky, and he went here. I played b4, and he resigned. So that was very sad. This game needs a lot of analyzing. Twice. I like to be thorough. So that was sad for Brian, but I was happy because I outplayed a master and a rook and pawn endgame when I don't even know what pawns are. God, I wish Sarah could get a POV cam of beating Brian Wall for the board. Did he stop grunting after he lost? No, but I had to go. Like, I couldn't look at the game because we had a lunch break that wasn't very long. So I left. But apparently during the hour of lunch that we had, he just sat there and just looked at the game by himself. He just, like, sat there looking at it. It was... like, I came back, he was in the exact same position that I left him in. So he just sat there during the lunch break staring at it, at what he did. He managed to get half a point in that tournament, but yeah, there we go. There's the chess. That was my first game.